What's up, everybody? My name is LB the Realist. This is Surrealistic Studios, where the realists are real. Thank you for joining me today. So I wanted to take the time to report on the fact that the NFL just banned kneeling during the national anthem. We know that the national anthem was implemented during NFL games by the military, by the NFL, due to pressure by the military, because they wanted to increase people going into the military. I guess people joining. So they came together, and the owners of the teams decided that they would ban kneeling for their players. Now, they do have an option. If they don't want to stand for the national anthem, they can stay in the locker room and just not be seen, not be heard, not be dealt with. And if they do kneel during the anthem, they will be subject to punishment, and their team will be subject to the fines. So they're going to put the responsibility of the player on the team if that player decides to take a kneel during the national anthem. Now, if you guys have been watching me, you guys know how I feel about this. I think it's absolute nonsense that players can't kneel during the national anthem, and it says a lot about our structure as a society and how things really are in regards to race relations, in regards to corporations, and the employers versus the employee. We all know Colin Kaepernick of the 49ers was with the 49ers. They refused to sign him to a team now. He initially took his knee in protest of police brutality. It was never about the flag. It was never about not being patriotic to America or not believing in America. It was about living in a country where the police and law enforcement are given free rein and a license to kill unarmed black and brown people. And it's been happening over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, nonstop. And the majority of these killings happened during President Obama's term, which he was the first African American president. So it's ironic. But now we have a new president in office, Donald Trump, and his vice president Mike Pence went to a game and ended up leaving because he didn't like the fact that players were kneeling during the national anthem. And we've had veterans come out in defense of Colin Kaepernick and the kneelers and say that, look, we went off to war and we fought and we died for this country in order for people to make that decision. That's what America is all about. It's about the free choice, the liberty to either stand or kneel during the national anthem. It's our choice. It's like free speech, freedom of press, freedom of religion. It's a choice. That's what America is about. It's about having the choice. That's what a lot of other countries don't have. They don't give you the option. They don't give you choices. They don't let you make your own decisions. So that's what he was protesting. He was protesting police brutality, not the flag, not our veterans, not America. But still, we have people like Ben Shapiro and these extreme right-wing, commentators that want to come out here and, like Tommy Lauren, that want to come out here and, bash Colin Kaepernick and say that he's un-American, say that anybody who kneels shouldn't be in America. Donald Trump said anybody who kneels should leave the country. So the president had put pressure on the National Football League to implement these new rules, or this new rule. And that shows a very scary situation, that our president can scare corporations into enacting new rules. So They don't want black and brown people to be heard. They don't want us to spread our knowledge. They don't want us to spread our ideas. They don't want us to stand up for each other. They don't want us to stand up for ourselves. I honestly believe that. And I'm starting to see a real deep, I always knew there was hatred, but I'm starting to see a real deep systemic sickness. It's not even a pride, it's a sickness in this country that not only affects, it not only comes from racists and bigots and people that discriminate, but it also infects people that are not exactly racist or bigots, but they're complicit or complacent in the system that allows it to be. They don't want to speak up against certain things because they benefit from these things, even though it disparages black and brown people. So, in the case of the NFL, like 70-80% of the players are black or brown? And yet, they're not allowed to speak up for themselves. They're not allowed to make statements during something that's not even supposed to be implemented within the football league. The national anthem. What the fuck does the military and the national anthem, patriotism, have to do with throwing and running a football up and down the field? Nothing. So why are they punishing players and punishing teams for players that decide to kneel during this national anthem that has nothing to do with football at all? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And what I find the most ridiculous is that we still have, the reason why they're able to do this is because the players allow it to happen. It's because the coaches allow it to happen. It's because the people who watch these football games allow it to happen. I stopped watching football, and I'm not trying to say that as if like I have that power, I have that, I'm holding that over your head like I'm so much better. I understand that we have to live in this world. We have to live in this world. We have to be a part of it. But we don't have to directly be a part of the entertainment that doesn't give a shit about us. We don't have to spend our money on football games that run our players up and down the field. Don't give a shit about their health. They don't give a shit about, they don't give a shit about players hitting their wives or, doing all kind of crazy shit. What they care about is the national anthem. And so many people that watch football, you're so trapped in this mindset of, well, I gotta watch my football. I gotta watch it. That's my team. And maybe it's easier for me because I didn't get into football later. I didn't grow up with, loving football ever since I was knee high. I got into it later on, like high school years. But to me, when there's such a huge issue in this country to where they're sending players to the locker rooms so that they won't be heard or they won't be seen, protesting something that's very valid and very just, the situation of police accountability, of corrupt law enforcement officers that are paid by us, the taxpayers, in order to do their jobs. Well, last time I checked, their job wasn't to kill unarmed black and brown people in the street. But that's exactly what they're being paid to do. And when they do it, they get bonuses, they get time off, paid time off. And no one gives a shit. But let one bad thing happen to a white woman or a person that has power, comes from a popular family that so happens to be white, and we don't get the same response. So a lot of the blame has to be on us. It has to be on the people that keep propping this shit up. Don't watch football. Don't watch the NFL if you know what they're doing, if you know what they're about. Don't be a part of the system that's trying to kill you, literally. A system that doesn't give a fuck about you, doesn't give a fuck about your son, doesn't give a fuck about your daughters, doesn't give a fuck about what you feel and what you go through as an individual living in America. Until we as a people can fix that problem in ourselves, until we can stop being complacent and stop being complicit in this shit, then these killings, these unjust rules, these unjust laws, it's never gonna end. We have to say no. One thing that they knew back in the 60s is the power of black money. That's what we need to reevaluate. We really need to come together as a people. And we need to come together as a collective people of all races and nationalities, of course. But there's such a huge, it's a deep issue within the black community that we can't even come together as a people. We can't coalesce behind each other because we're so busy being at each other's throats. We're so busy being distracted by football and by entertainment and by, you know, this TV show and by this news show and all this different bullshit that they throw at us. We're so distracted, and we idolize and we glorify people that don't give a fuck about us and our culture and about what we go through. We need to get it together as black people first, and then as a collective consciousness second. Because I don't see in other communities, I don't see the same issues in these other communities as I do in my black community. And it hurts me. We are so broken. We're so broken. We don't know who we are. We don't know where we come from. And how the fuck we gonna know where we going if we don't even know that? I stopped watching football. I don't watch NFL. I may watch some college if it comes on, but I don't watch the NFL. You know, and I actively don't watch it because of this reason. Because they don't give a fuck about our people, but yet they use our people to make them rich, to make them wealthy. And they use those riches and that wealth to continue to disparage us and to continue to run us dry and to run us rampant until, you know, until we have fucking brain damage to the point where we can't even recognize ourselves anymore. I mean, look at the brain issues that these players have in the NFL. Do you think they give a shit about that? The only thing they give a shit about is this. Meanwhile, Colin Kaepernick still doesn't have a job, even though he's more than qualified to be a starter. And we still got people that refuse to come together and refuse to see the bigger picture. Because, hey, you got to watch your football, right? You got to see your team run that ball across the field. Because that's what's important to you. And until you realize what's really important to you and accept it, you're going to be forever in the dark. And nothing's ever going to change. It won't. It just won't. Because you refuse to change it. And when I say you and I'm pointing my finger, I know that there's fingers pointing back at me too. So when I do these videos, I'm not only talking about, you know, certain people and just you, the viewer. I'm lumping myself included. I'm included in that. We all need to come together and wake the fuck up. With all that being said, I love you guys. Remember to stay cool. Have love in your hearts, peace in your souls, chicken grease in your bellies. Like this video, comment at the end, in the bottom here, and subscribe right there at the bottom so I can keep bringing you the realest. Until next time, I'm out.